I'd like to introduce you, Carlos, with ARC document. Is it documents?
Sure, ARC.
I was wondering about that. ARC. So take it away.
Thank you. Hello. Can you guys hear me? All right, good afternoon. Thank you, Michelle. If it's okay with all of you, I'm going to work from down here and not up behind the podium. Fair? Okay. Thanks for having me. I know we're still kind of finishing up lunch, and I promise I'm not going to go for 45 minutes. We'll give you a break before the member meeting at 1. But today, like Michelle said, we're going to talk about trends in facility management, trends in technology. And what I'd like to do before we jump into the deck, and I'm not a big PowerPoint person, so we're not going to sit here and go through 40 pages. I'm not going to read off. We're going to try and make me more conversational. I will show you some stats and some numbers, but more, hey, let's kind of figure out why are we all here? Why are the partners that line the room here? Why are you all here trying to figure out what do we do with our technology and how do we move forward? So first I'm going to tell you a real quick story about the world's greatest beef and cheddar croissant, right in my hometown of Chicago. A gentleman named Dick Portillo started a hot dog stand in 1963 in Villa Park. Now, why am I telling you this story? Because who would have known back then a hot dog stand that turned into a restaurant, that turned into a local chain. Now I have an app where anywhere I am, I can pull out my phone, I can go to that Portillo's app, I can find out where the closest one is, I can order and I can pay and then go pick it up. Now, we're going to do a quick exercise because they've told me never speak right after a meal or right after people spend a couple hours outside in the Texas sun. So everyone, if you could, please, they didn't say you couldn't do the combination, so please stand up quickly. All relative, right? If you would, please remain standing if you have at least one mobile device on you right now. Okay. Please remain standing if you have at least one travel app, a Waze, an airline, a Uber. Okay. Please remain standing if you have at least 2 social media apps, a Twitter, a FaceSpace, a LinkedIn. I don't have Facebook, so I call it FaceSpace. Okay. So thinning out. Please remain standing if you can go into your phone right now and pull up a blueprint from your building from a construction project in the early 2000s.
They can't find the dogs.
Okay. All right, so you notice a lot of people sat down. Well, it's yeah, you have to know how to get there. It's like, I have money, I just don't know where it is, right? Remain standing if you can go into your phone right now, find the AED location at a residence hall, and text me the how-to or the manual.
Oh, cash prize, thank you.
Yeah, who else is standing? We got over there. And then we got one more over there. Okay, so why did we do that exercise? There's one more? Oh, okay. Okay. So, what's that? Okay. There's money for you. Okay. So the reason we do that exercise and framing today's discussion, why is mobility important? And that's why everyone is telling you, what's that? Well, I'll get you. All right. Why can't you? Okay. I told you earlier, I can go order a beef sandwich from a restaurant in Chicago. That's in my personal life. Our personal lives, we're in an app economy. Everything is on our phone. Our banking, paying for gas, where our children are. Why can't our facilities information be the same way? We talked about it yesterday. You've been talking about it for the last couple days. Put everything into a mobile environment. Get your partners to work together. Your GIS, your work orders, your facility management. Put them together. So we're going to talk about one kind of specific area with facilities management, emergency preparedness, making the transition to mobile, some best practices there, and then how to move forward and maybe some best practices to purchase technology. Now, disclaimer, none of this is a silver bullet. I'm not promising you if you follow these steps, you're going to automatically get approved and get all the budget you want, but it is some best practices from some of your peers. Like I said, I promise I'm not going to go through each slide. I'm going to skip through a couple. So 5 reasons why mobility is important. And what we found, and we've worked with different agencies, different government groups of data mining, different facilities groups, different industries. These are the 5 reasons mobility is important. Safety, cost, efficiency, productivity, and collaboration. Now, not just collaboration within your university or your team, with your partners, with your vendors. Can you collaborate with other groups on campus? It's a huge benefit of mobility. Now we're gonna focus on emergency, like I said, and what I wanna do is tell me if you can identify with this incident, which actually happened last year. Take a moment, take a look at it. Raise your hand if you had a water leak in the last month. This week, right? It happens, okay? Why are we pushing mobility? Why are we pushing speed to information, cutting down response time? This is why. Actual story, $10 million in damage. Maybe above that, it was a public library and the area that was affected had historical documents and records. Not only did they have to pay and they had that loss, it was the loss of history. Not to mention the 2 people that lost their jobs. Up on the screen, you'll see what we found in some research is what are the catastrophes that happen most. And each one of these, speed to response can cut down the cost. You'll never eliminate the cost. These items, these things, these catastrophes, by definition, will happen regardless. As you can see up top, that's why we have work order systems. Our equipment's the lifeblood of our buildings and our campus. And as you go down the line, you can see the frequency and the percentage of how or when they're happening. Now, the next slide is going to talk about the cost of these different catastrophes. As you can see, it's not proportional. Those that are happening more frequently don't always necessarily cost as much to the campus or the university. The scary one is the earthquake and avalanche. It's the least likely, but the second most expensive. Fires, you guys have all heard that. Every minute a fire doubles. Again, mobility, speed to response, using technology on your campus, using collaboration, being able to communicate quickly, having access to the information online and offline will help you mitigate some of these costs. Again, you're not going to replace or get rid of these costs, but you can try and mitigate with speed and response. What we found over the last 5 years, the average catastrophe, which is one of those events, it's an emergency or something that happens, is going to cost you at least $500,000. Yes, no? Anyone agree? The numbers say 86% are not fully prepared. Oh, sorry. I would like to open it up to the group. Anyone want to share any best practices that they have put in place or are working on? This is kind of the point too, is like, let's share this information and find out. If someone's doing it really well, let's share that. Anyone have a good plan in place they'd like to share? There is more money. And I'll buy you a drink at Cooper's tonight. Thank you.
A couple of years ago, our vice president funded the construction of a dedicated EOC and staffed it with a full-time dedicated EOC coordinator that has over the past couple of years worked across the institution to bring together a pretty comprehensive business continuity plan. And they work with regional, county, and local agencies on coordinating full-scale exercises at least twice a year. And that's worked out very, very well.
That's awesome. with this plan and kind of the process, has it been pushed out? Is there any kind of technology being used, or it's more, hey, we've got everyone in the room, we have this kind of consistent meeting and consistent knowledge transfer, and then everyone's on the same page?
Consistent meeting, consistent knowledge transfer. There's a little bit of technology. Our GIS group is tied into that for simple, location awareness, data access. Our senior facilities officer is actively involved in those, coordination efforts. A lot of it has to do with communication protocols. Who's calling who? Can we get interlocals and intra-agency documents, ratified for all different partners? Technologically speaking, we're just not that advanced at this time.
Okay, thank you. And that's another reason. That's why we're here, right? So it's one thing to have the meetings. You've had everyone on the same page. You're working with local first responders. You're working with law enforcement, different groups on campus. But, when's that meeting? I've got another meeting. I'm out of town. If you can use technology and everything we've been talking about the last couple of days, if you can use a mobile or web, if you can use some sort of technology to help foster that communication and have one repository, it just speeds up the process. Let's talk about some key advantages of going mobile. Now, the exercise we did earlier, everyone stood up and everyone had a device, at least one. Some of you may have 2 or 3. The most I've ever saw was someone had 4 devices on them at one time. It's crazy, right? It's important to have mobile, it's important to have technology, sharing capabilities, offline, online access. What happens in an emergency? Usually the electricity goes out, the Wi-Fi goes out. You need to be able to find that information. Anyone currently have offline access to most of the critical information in the field? So we're halfway there. So we've got it. Everyone that could stand up, hey, I can find this information, you had to be connected to the network. So that's something to think about when you're evaluating and looking at technology and looking at your plan. Hey, not only can I get to this when I'm online, can I get to this when I'm offline? Half of those disasters, like I said, electricity and network are going to go down. And if the network is up, who has first priority? First responders, police, fire. I have heard and I have seen there are some programs now, some of the wireless companies are doing kind of like dedicated campus. I don't know, you talk to your IT team or talk to your provider. They're looking at doing like dedicated lines for facilities teams as well as first responders. If anyone wants all the slides, instead of me going through them, I'll come over, grab my card, or email me, I'll email you the deck. Here's the 5 reasons we found in our research of why people are purchasing facilities technology. The number 1 reason is it improves productivity. Everyone would like to be more productive, right? Do more with less. That's what everyone tells you. Well, we kind of say do more with more. Give more tools to your team. Give more access to your team. Give more information to your team in the field, and you can do more. You don't have to cut heads. You can actually add more work and get more completed. And as you see, the top 5, legal financial risk, I'm not so sure if that's here. Definition of large and small teams. If a team reporting to one person is 25 or more, that's considered a large team in our research. Anything less than that is a small team. Questions about the numbers? Thoughts? Here's some best practices when you're looking to purchase technology, and I want to focus on 2 of them. The IT was involved and included a mobile app. Now, you've all probably gone to buy technology, and all of us partners here in the room have worked with different universities. Say, oh, let's try and get this, and they go, okay, you got to go through IT. Oh, that's great, let's do this IT security questionnaire, let's do the review. That's not what that means. That means involve IT from the very beginning and get them involved, because possibly, if you look at all the different technologies in the room and out in the hall and everything you've been talking about, IT could have a vested interest in also jumping into that technology and jumping into that solution. And on the other part of that, if they jump in, perhaps they'll pay a little bit and you can supplement your budget. So make sure you get IT involved early and have them actively in evaluation. Not just doing the review, does this meet our security requirements? Is this secure and is the cloud correct? Get them involved because they may use it. And then included a mobile app. Again, we identified earlier with the activity, we all have devices, everyone on your team has devices, and mobile apps are everywhere. Oops, sorry. So as we kind of wrap up here, here's some of the values of mobility and why we see the trend of facilities management going into a mobile world. Using technology to enhance the work order completion times, looking at cutting possibly 30% off your time so they're not looking for information, trying to find something. They're out in the field getting work done. I'll leave that up for a second. This is my last kind of like quick shameless plug for our app. And that's it. What questions can I answer? Promised I'd be quick, give you a chance to get a break before the meeting. Yes?
So how did you go about getting some of the stats that showed up there?
Yes, there were 3 kind of different funnels we went after. First, we went and worked with some of the insurance companies and some of the different suppliers to universities, like, hey, how often are these claims being filed? We worked with the Bureau of Labor Statistics to get some of the like large, small team, how do we define that? Then we also have done lots of surveys and on-site work with facilities teams, asking them, what happens? Can you tell us what happened in the last 10 years? What kind of catastrophes happened? How many people on your team? It's a lot of survey and research.
And then do you have any data to offset that to say, well, people that had these mobile apps, that had the technology, when they had this catastrophe, it only cost them this much?
Yeah, not in the slide, but I can get you that. What we found is, if I go back, forgive me, I'll go back a little bit, not many people in the group I forgot where it was. It's like 14%. 14% of the people had something in place mobile, and they were able to cut down time and cost. And I can get you those numbers if you like. Yeah. Thank you. Other questions? Yes.
How is offline supposed to work? Can you speak to the technology?
Sure.
If you have document management.
So the question was how, go ahead.
Management with your critical information on it, how are you supposed to make that available offline?
Right. So the question was about offline access. Obviously, depending on the size of your device and the storage you have, you're not going to take, a terabyte of data of all your blueprints and store that offline on a device. But when you look at different mobile apps and some of the different technologies, you can actually select what would be important and what would I need to get to, just like that in the matter of in moments and seconds. I'll sync that locally to my device, and I'll be able to get to it without connection. So it's having the ability to kind of select files or folders or campuses or pieces of information that'll sync locally to the device, be it an iPad or an iPhone, or like a tough book. But having that option to sync critical data, and then everything else is based on the cloud connectivity. Other questions? All right, thank you. Have a great rest of the show. Oh, one more, one more.
In the state of Massachusetts, we've launched a municipal vulnerability planning process. And
Yes.
For instance, we at University of Massachusetts have also launched a campus resiliency planning effort. Are you finding that effort more prevalent throughout the country, or?
Yes, actually, I'll tell you a quick story about, is it Middleton, the school district in Connecticut? Middleton? Yeah, so they worked with their local law enforcement. They kind of jointly purchased the ARC emergency. So I promised I wouldn't pitch, but a little pitch. They jointly purchased, and first responders and the school district and the facility team and the board members, everyone has access to this app. And they said because of the legislation, like, hey, we need to put something in place, we need to have a plan, and everyone has to have access to it. So we are seeing that a lot, more in the K-12 level, but I could see it's only going to make its way to higher ed. Yeah. Thank you. Awesome. Well, thank you.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. There's been a theme across this conference the last conference, and probably every conference I've ever been to, and that is, how do you justify these types of solutions to upper management? Right? Everyone's always asking that. So I want to ask all of you, does anybody have the answer? Does anybody here have an example or an idea of ways to achieve that? Of metrics like Carlos is creating? Any kind of packets, some toolkits? Anybody succeed in something that they want to share? Really? Go ahead. How do you sell upper management to invest in where all of you guys want to go? Because what I have heard is a huge combined heart of passion from everybody here. I hear stories of people wanting to work, wanting to do the heavy lifting, wanting to do it on their own time, but they don't have the support of management to say, do it. The passion is there, the want is there, the desire is there, but you're just not getting the approval. How can we change that? What kind of reports or metrics or studies? I mean, Gretchen, I loved your questions. Because a graph is just a graph, but like, where'd it come from? You know? And I know in our university, they always want benchmarks. What are our benchmark universities doing? But if we know and have an idea of some strategies on ways, oh, you got a mic? On ways to achieve this, maybe CFTA can work together to create some of those solutions.
So I don't necessarily have a strategy or a toolkit or something concrete to point to, but whatever that is, it has to drive enrollment, period. We have to somehow find a way to connect the value of what we do to our customers, which are students.
Oh, that's such a good point. I have a short story at the University of Kentucky. You know, we're embarking on a smart campus initiatives, but it's about iPads in the classroom. And I don't think I didn't see one slide here this week on iPads for smart campus in the classroom for teaching and learning. But that's the foot in the door. And because it drives enrollment. Yeah.
Well, in K through 12, they're using iPads in the classroom. So when the seniors
That's right.
graduate high school, they expect that level of access and technological advanced capabilities
In their learning environment.
That's right.
But the universities we're dinosaurs. We're not keeping pace with the advanced level of pedagogy that is being taught in K through 12 in certain districts, not every district. But I have dear friends in the Austin Westlake ISD area that are teaching teachers how to use iPads to learn, create, collaborate. When they get to the universities, we stick them in 200-seat lecture halls that are concrete seats, and expect the sage on the stage to teach them. So our enrollment goes from, 40,000 to 35,000. Fall semesters, big enrollment, spring rolls around, attrition every academic year. So whatever it is that we are doing, however cool and innovative and fun and interactive our technology is and how important it is to operations, that has to connect to the student body somehow and drive their want to attend and find value in 4 years of higher education.
I love that. And, I recently learned of a school near Lexington, Eminence, Kentucky, and the students are learning how to use AutoCAD, and they're 5 years old. They have a one-to-one device of students. The kindergartners are getting mini iPads. And they're coding in kindergarten, literally. And they've been doing it for 7 years. I mean, it's really mind-boggling. But I think you're so right on that. So how can we do that? How can we tie some of this value to our enrollment in the underlying theme of facilities that are very expensive and training field personnel to use devices. I mean, we can say, and Carlos, I loved your slide about the mobile device, but at the end of the day, you know, in university, we can't just have people use their own mobile devices. We have to use our own and equip them. So there's going to be a cost to that. Yeah.
Yeah, Michelle, a start on this, it's not a silver bullet, but if anybody in the room is familiar with the APA, FPI measurements, the facility performance indicators, it's free to you as a university if you're a member of APA. And those metrics, Michelle, are there. Now, you have to develop your own set to go against your cohorts, but it's ready and available to begin that process of being able to put metrics together, project the savings, project the productivity, and that's the only way you'll talk to the CFO, is using financial metrics and metrics like that rather than theory. So I would recommend, if you aren't already, have your FM group look at the facility performance indicators within the APA database. I think you're going to find a lot there.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yep. Any other thoughts on this topic before we conclude and take a short break before the all-member meeting? Because this is that, you know, the big elephant in the room. I mean, this is it. And we need to figure out how to get answers intelligently through metrics. Larry, that's good. Okay, we are going to take a short break, but please come back for the 1 o'clock. We are going to showcase some nice CFTA news, like an award that you guys can submit for your projects and get recognition, and some other exciting news. We're going to have a little ceremony. I guess I'm stepping down, and we got a new president stepping up, and it would be really lame if there's no one here to clap. So take some time and come back at 1. Thank you.